Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. It is Friday, December 8th, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. And for that, I appreciate y'all being in the building. I know your fantasy teams are done, cooked, over, but you're still tapped into the Wake Up Show. Me and JRich, thank you for that. What's going down? Marlon, happy Friday to you, my friend. I hope you have a good one out there. Marlon, damn Eagles fan. We got Eagles Cowboys this weekend. Y'all know what it is. Hunter Joe Green, GMGP to you. Arthur, what's happening with you, big dog? GMGP, Leo, Rico, Stone, Anthony in the building. JRich, cut the music, baby. Cut the music off. Got to get into the show. We got a lot of games we need to power through. We had teams still on bye last week. Got a couple of teams on bye this week. No Arizona Cardinals. How the hell is Trey McBride out? Like, we need you, Trey McBeast, and he's not in, Jay. We know Trey McBride, no Kyler Murray. Got a couple of teams on bye. We got a damn good slate, man. We got some good games to talk about. And, Jay, for about 2 quarters, we had a game last night that we need to get into. I believe is the Heisman Trophy ceremony this weekend, Jay? Heisman Trophy ceremony?
I believe so. Yes, that's a great question. I believe you are correct. The Heisman Trophy ceremony is this week. Obviously, finalists were announced. It was Penix, it was Daniels, it was Bo.
There you are. There you go.
I'm here, man. Yeah, you know, there was a game last night. I mean, I heard. I couldn't find it on my television, though. So I unfortunately did not watch the game. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, Ray. I'm a little bit broken inside. It hurts. But there's still hope. There's still hope. And I don't know if you saw, but there's a private flight from Anaheim at 9 a.m. this morning, headed to Toronto. No one knows what it's for, and I'll leave it at that. But we do have football. We have a big slate today, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Like that. You're talking about Shohei Ohtani, right? You're talking about Shohei Ohtani.
I'm hoping it's Shohei Ohtani. This is what happened with Kawhi. There was a private flight from San Antonio to Toronto. So people were speculating. It came up on the flight tracker. They are the second favorites to the Dodgers right now. Still, you know, there's a lot of rumors floating around.
You think y'all are gonna get him?
It would be.
You think y'all are gonna get him? You're not even a Blue Jays fan. I thought you were a Red Sox fan.
I am a Red Sox fan, but because I live in Toronto, man, it would be super exciting. Like, it'd be crazy. And I get to go see him, right? Obviously, all the time. I've never seen him, and so that'd be really cool. When he came to Toronto, he didn't even play, which sucked. But yeah,
man,
apparently he loves sitting in Toronto.
I read an interesting article on ESPN. I think it was Buster Olney talked about the free agency process for Ohtani is like, it's supposed to be this awesome thing for baseball, but it's because it's so secretive and private, it's been awful. But neither here nor there. I know nobody tuned in to listen to us talk about Shohei Ohtani and where he's going to land. They want to know about the fantasy football stars, who to start, who to sit, who to buy, who to sell. We got a lot of good stuff coming. Go to DestinationDevy.com. Gene just dropped his start-sit article this week. He dropped that this morning. It came out. We've got other articles on the site, Trinity Tracker, War Tool, something you definitely need to tap into, especially as you start to think about how to construct your rosters for next season and going into the rookie draft class. Go to DD.com, check out all that good stuff. Podcast feed is popping. Y'all know what it is. Jay, we got news. We got notes. Let's get it.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
All right, Ray. So we do have some interesting news out of Philadelphia because their OC, Brian Johnson, said they need to commit more to the running game, obviously referring to the fact that they completely went away from the run last week against San Francisco. We talked about how are we worried about DeAndre Swift? Is he going to be a factor throughout the fantasy playoffs? We'll see. You know, Brian Johnson is claiming that they are going to get back to the run. So hopefully they do that and would be great for Swift owners. Am I starting him this week? I probably would, but I'm a little bit skeptical. I can't lie, because this could be a very difficult matchup, and the Eagles could be down big in this one. Shane Steichen was also asked about Jonathan Taylor this week and his potential status. He was supposed to miss 3 to 5 weeks, but he was asked, of course, if JT's going to play, and he said we'll see. So monitor those injury reports, because there is a small chance potentially that Jonathan Taylor could be back this week, although I wouldn't expect it. In quarterback news, though, Ray, we are getting Josh Dobbs this week for the Minnesota Vikings, and the return of Zach Wilson for the New York Jets. Would it be Tim Boyle? Would it be Trevor Siemian? Nope. How are you going to do that, though? If there's anybody that can lift up Garrett Wilson, it's Zach Wilson. We thought, well, maybe it's Tim Boyle. Maybe it's Trevor Siemian. Those guys are not the answer. They are back to Zach Wilson. And hopefully Zach Wilson balls out to show they never should have benched him in the first place. We also have more news out of Philly, because Dallas Goedert says he is ready to play, so he will be playing this week, or should be playing this week, against your Dallas Cowboys. So the return of Dallas Goedert. And in other tight end news, Darren Waller is claiming he's going to be back next week against the Saints. So he's obviously been out for a while with a hamstring injury. He may be returning against the Saints. Would I start him? Don't want to, but Darren Waller's a pretty damn good tight end. And if Tommy DeVito or Tyrod Taylor, who also returned to practice this week but not expected to start, could be options for you in fantasy. Dorian Thompson-Robinson returned to practice, but Joe Flacco was taking first-team snaps. We aren't sure yet who's going to be starting at quarterback. I would expect it to be Flacco, but there is an outside chance it is Robinson after he came back from his concussion. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet returned to practice. Both of them did not practice on Wednesday, but we're back on Thursday. Obviously, Walker has been out for the past 2 weeks. He will be returning against San Francisco this week, which matchup, not great, but great to see Walker back on the field. Head coach Brandon Staley, Ray, said a competition for carries is going to be something that you can see happening. The inefficiency of Austin Eckler has started to generate some questions from the media, and Brandon Staley's not backing away from it. He's saying, you know what, Austin, you want to earn that starting role? You better actually earn it, so we could see some more Josh Kelly carries going forward. Trevor Lawrence, Ray, the toughest quarterback in America, practice yesterday after suffering a high ankle sprain on Monday, not even on Sunday. This guy's back at practice. There is a shot he's going to play. I mean, if he's already practicing Thursday, he was obviously limited, but if he's practicing on Thursday, he's probably going to make an effort to try and play. Breece Hall missed practice Wednesday and Thursday. So did Isaiah Pacheco. So these guys could potentially miss this week. You know, Pacheco especially is a big problem if you're looking at that Kansas City running game, because they don't really have anyone else who can run the ball. Christian Watson's status is still unknown. He's not expected to play this week, and Matt LaFleur said he's hopefully back sooner rather than later, but no official timeline for Christian Watson right now. Taysom Hill and Rashid Shaheed both missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday as well, so they may not play, but Derek Carr did practice, still in concussion protocol, so we don't know if he's going to start or it's going to be Jameis Winston. I don't really care. I don't think it makes much of a difference for the Saints offense. They're playing Carolina, but Carr may start, which would be great for Kamara, because if a concussed Carr is playing, he's probably dumping it off to him a lot. And Tyler Higbee missed practice yesterday as well, so he may not be playing in the game against the Ravens, but he wouldn't do anything against the Ravens anyways because their defense is so good. Is there anything else you want to touch on? I think I hit on all of the major news, especially from the fantasy relevant players. But yeah, big slate in football, stars and scrubs. Should be a few backup bowls and a few great games.
Well, you talked about T-Law, and it's one of the things that we always say about Trevor Lawrence. Despite how he plays, he's a tough kid, man. The dude gets hit, bent backwards, broken, and he always finds a way to get back on the field. And I think he had back-to-back practices. I mean, listen.
If he practices today, insane.
Me personally,
we saw him limping,
with the ankle not 100% and them playing on the road at Cleveland. Do you know who they play next week? Baltimore. I would rather them just sit T-Law this week. Sit him, get him more healthy, and then be 100% or at least be in a better spot to be healthier versus Baltimore than play him this week on a short week, injured ankle against Myles Garrett and that defense. I would just rather him sit, but who am I? I'm not the damn head coach.
And Denzel Ward back at practice too.
Yeah, nor am I the guy that stole $22 million from the Jack. How do you steal
Let's go. Yeah, I saw that report. I was like, what?
This damn Ocean's
Shad
11?
Khan,
What is
asleep
he
at the
doing?
wheel, man. It's crazy.
Jacksonville, you're letting low-level employees fleece you like this? What is going on? 22. That's where the money for the offensive line went. My man is out there buying rollies and condominiums. Good Lord, man. Wild stuff happening in old Duval County. But, Jay, we've got a lot to get to. You talked about some of the quick hitters. I do want to quickly recap last night's game, and then we're going to bring on our man. Mitch Carl's going to come in towards the end of the show. We're going to talk some money. Dallas, Philadelphia, the Buffalo game, see if he can give us some profitable plays to make some money. So stay tuned for my man DFS and Donuts a little bit later. But the New England Patriots, Jay, they were 6-point dogs in this matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road, and they went out there and Bailey Zappi got them in the first half. They did absolutely nothing in the second half, Jay. But in the first half, Bailey Zappi, Ezekiel Elliott, they got it popping. Mitchell Trubisky should have had probably close to 4 interceptions in that game. If you watched it, he was giving it right to the New England Patriots defenders. Couldn't catch it. Lucky bounces, defensive holding call. He was terrible, Jay. Terrible. As bad as Kenny Pickett looked, Mitchell Trubisky was even worse. He was terrible. The Patriots beat the Steelers. They improved their record to 3-10. They have no interest. They don't want a quarterback, right? Bill Belichick.
Nope, they don't. Apparently, Bill wants to just win games. It's great.
How do you win? They had 3 active receivers, Jordan. 3. You want to know their names? Juju Smith-Schuster was limping around after the game. He blew up. Monster game from Juju out of nowhere. Tyquan Thornton and your boy Jalen Reagor. That was it. Those were the 3 active wide receivers. And TJ Watt and Joey Porter Jr. and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward. And I'm not going to blame the defense. Defense, you give up 21.
You're not going to blame the defense? Dude, the Patriots have scored 13 points in the last 3 weeks combined. And they scored 21.5 against the Steelers. I think you can blame the defense.
They did not play well in the first half, Jay. They didn't play well in the first half, but the offense was abysmal. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't run the ball. Jalen Warren, nothing, 11 yards. Najee, nothing, 30 yards. Just a bad game. I don't know if there's much to take away from this one besides the fact New England shouldn't be winning games. And if you have Ezekiel Elliott, Jay, this is
bell cow.
He is a top 10 option rest of way. He is a top 10 running back rest of way. They are going to just give him I think it was like 6 minutes left in the game. New England didn't even bother. 3rd and 2, run the ball. 3rd and 11, run. Zappy, you're not throwing for a damn yard. They just fed Zeke, man. 30 freaking touches, Jay. 30 opportunities, 29, but close enough. 30 opportunities for Zeke, and he looked fine. I mean, he was inefficient, but 22 carries, man. 7 receptions. I want Zeke. He's a top 10 option rest of the way, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, the only running back to get a carry in the whole backfield. He got 7 catches, 8 targets. As you mentioned, over 130 yards, or 140, yards combined, scored a touchdown. Like, what more do you want? The guy's going to be a top 10 option probably for as long as Ramondre's out. As bad as this Patriots offense is, if there is one running back, it's great for fantasy. It always has been. It's when there's multiple backs it becomes a lot less clear. But clearly Zeke is good to go. They're happy to give him the rock. And as you mentioned, he's even getting carries that like they know are getting no yards because they're not throwing the ball. And he's still just toting the rocks in those point per carry leagues, especially. Zeke's going to be great. The Juju revenge game, everyone was all over that after Juju started real hot. I mean, I don't know, but is it going to continue? Not really. I remember my buddy was telling me that coming into the game, Ray, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Reagor, Tyquan Thornton combined for 250 receiving yards. On the season, not like in the past few games, on the entire season. Coming into this game, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, and Jalen Reagor had combined for 250 receiving yards on the entire year. As a team, they had 240. Yeah, for real. Like again, because it's primarily Demario Douglas and Devontae Parker. On the year, Juju only has 29 catches for 260 yards. Like, it's crazy what just happened. And it better not happen again. That's all. It better not happen again. Arizona needs another win because this is ridiculous. Like, this team is terrible. Steelers should be embarrassed. I know Minkah Fitzpatrick was talking about how they need more guys on the defense who want it, who want to win, who want to work hard. He was kind of roasting the defense a little bit. But this game was terrible. The running backs on the Steelers side were bad. Deontay Johnson scored. I don't know if you saw George Pickens' route tree. I think it was Warren Sharp who tweeted it out. Bro, most ridiculous route tree I've ever seen in my whole life. It was basically like just little outs, nothing past 10 yards, and somehow he caught 5 passes for 19 yards. It was absolutely ridiculous to look at his route tree. All
right, we're done with this game. It was entertaining in the first half, and I believe, what was the total? What was the total over-under for that game?
30.5. They broke it in the first half.
They broke it in the first half. Yeah, they broke it in the first half. So there's that. Is there any fantasy takeaway from that game for me?
Hell no.
Zeke is a hammer. I do want
Zeke,
to shout out Gavin though, because I said this and people thought I was crazy. I said this on Monday in the Discord. Go to destinationdevy.com. Get in the damn Discord. I said if you're contending, I have no problem, Jay, on a contending roster sending my late second to get Zeke. And this trade is perfect. He sent his contending second. He got Zeke in the mid third. Love it.
Yep. It's a great trade.
Great trade. Screw that freaking 211, man. Screw it. Give me the guy that's going to get 25 freaking touches a game for the rest of the season, and then you get a mid-third round pick back with it. Well done. Trade it today. Good stuff, Gavin. Good stuff. Jay, let's get into the first game. Let's get into it. We're going to get through these quickly. Old GQ. Yeah, the whole GQ family has been stricken with illness over here. We are all struggling right now, Jay. We are struggling. But I got to do this for the people because I love y'all, baby. I love y'all. And I love you too, Jay. But let's get to the Rams and the Ravens game, man. It should be an interesting matchup. Rams, Ravens, talk about it, Jay.
So this one should actually be exciting, right? We do have the Rams coming off a very hot performance last week. Obviously, the Ravens have a phenomenal offense and defense. So we're going to see what happens here. The biggest storyline for me, Ray, in this game is can the Rams continue their strong offensive performances? As you see, the matchup predictor for ESPN has the Ravens as 74% chance likely of winning. Ravens are favored by 7. The over-under 39.5. I did want to mention before we get through the games, you mentioned Arizona, Washington also on bye,
yes.
people who aren't paying attention. Yes. Just to make sure we get that out there. But yeah, so the biggest concern this weekend is weather. Weather could be a big issue for. Make sure you're checking what games are outdoors, which games are indoors, where these games are being played. This game, obviously, East Coast, probably going to see some rain. That's why the total is very low. I don't think the Rams are going to get it
for this one. Man, they open
expecting wind and rain for this weekend.
Wind is scary, Jay. Wind is scary. I mean, for this thing to open up at 44.5 and then drop down to 39.5, man.
Yeah, so a lot of games are expecting 20-mile-per-hour winds, which is a big number. And if you hit 20 miles per hour, it becomes very difficult to throw. And then as well, there could be rain on top of that. But for me, and this is actually from Gene's article, so I want to shout out Gene for this. The Ravens defense, negative 0.6 EPA per pass, which is 4th lowest in the league. Explosive pass rate, they have the 5th lowest, 189 passing yards per game allowed, which is the 4th fewest, and a 45% pressure rate, which is 2nd highest in the league. So Matthew Stafford is going to be hot, and he's going to have to get the ball out early. And I think that's where Matthew Stafford has really struggled this season. When you look at this matchup, I like it from the Ravens side because the Rams defense is really beatable. The weather may be an issue for the pass catchers, but the running back should be just fine. But I think if you're expecting a lot from Matthew Stafford and from Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Higbee if he plays, you're probably not going to get it. A lot of ground and pound, a lot of dump offs, a lot of short completions. It's not going to be a high-scoring game, I don't think. And even though yesterday's was a bit of a surprise, this game could be one that's relatively low-scoring, and I think Baltimore is a team that's willing to make this more of a disgusting, gross, ground-and-pound style of game. I do think the Ravens cover, and they win pretty handily. I don't really like the Rams so much in this matchup.
Jay, Puka Nacua, over 1,000 yards on the season. You see that right there, 77 for 1,029. He's probably going to finish the season. Well, they got 4 games left, 4 games left.
Yeah.
He's going to be close to, 1,400 yards probably at the end of the season? You don't think so?
I'd put him closer to 1,250.
You don't think he's going to get 300 more yards between now and the end of the season? You don't believe that? In 4 games, he can't get 300 yards? Come on, man. He's going to finish with around 1,100 receiving yards this year.
He could, but this week, I'm expecting him to get...
He will. Okay, he will.
So it depends on the next couple of games. They're easy matchups because I checked a long time ago the schedule, and I know that Stafford has easy matchups. But is it inside, right? Is there weather going to be impacting these as well? So I think that's part of it for me at the end, but he totally could do it because he can have 100 yards a game. It's just, will he actually do it? 1,300 is probably a little bold. I mean, it's still like 70 yards a game, including this one. So we'll see, but he could do it. 13. I said 1,250.
200 and something yards. Come on, man. He's going to finish with around that as long as he's healthy. Incredible season for Puka. Are you still starting those guys? Are you starting Puka? Are you starting Cooper Kupp? You're talking about the weather, or is the true advice just tell people to monitor the weather, and if it's windy as shit, then you may want to fade. The wind scares me. Rain doesn't bother me as much. Cold, don't really care about that. Snow, not unless it's literally snowing at game time. Wind is a problem.
Even snow's not a big deal. So the one thing I will say, I do trust Stafford to throw, regardless of conditions, right? Like, they will run the ball, obviously, but he's not a quarterback like a Bailey Zappi. We're going to say, okay, Bailey, you are not throwing because the conditions are too shitty. So I do trust Stafford to throw. I think it will just be more of a PPR game than you're talking about the big long bomb type of game, right? It'll be slow and steady, short completions. I wouldn't say you don't start him. I think you have to start him and Kupp, because just every week you start those guys, regardless of what happens, even in bad matchups. And because we're projecting the Ravens to be ahead, hopefully they're coming back from behind, right?
So it could be some. Puka Nacua.
I'd probably start Dobbs, honestly.
Over
I
Puka.
like Dobbs. Yeah, I like Dobbs this week. We're not going to talk about him today, but I do like Dobbs this week.
Because Christian Watson's not playing. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm all the way there with you, but I'll just say this.
You got the Giants, though.
I'm going to
probably know Christian Watson.
I hear you, but I'll monitor the weather. I'm going to monitor the weather. If it's not as windy on game time, right at the start of kickoff, I'll probably still roll Puka Nacua out there. I trust the volume. I trust Matthew Stafford. And in this game, the two prideful-ass coaches. They both want to win, and the Rams are right there in the thick of it for a final playoff spot. So as long as it's not hyper windy, I think I'm fine rolling out Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Kyron Williams, you're firing them up. Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell, you're probably starting both of those guys, even though Gus Edwards has been losing some opportunity. And then again, from the Ravens pass catchers, monitor the weather. OBJ, Zay Flowers, monitor the weather. You're making these faces, dude. It's week 14, all right? It's week 14, and you don't have your full allotment of players out there. Players are hurt. You're starting all kinds of crazy. People had to start Mitch Trubisky, unfortunately, last night. So monitor the weather. You still may have to start those Ravens pass catchers. Detroit, Chicago, 43.5 point total, Jay. Justin Fields and Jared Goff going at it again. They played, didn't feel like that long ago. And DJ Moore had a good game. Justin Fields threw the game away, or was a fumble. It fumbled it away. Talk about this one, man. Detroit, Chicago.
So we do have Detroit, Chicago. Ray, of course, this one is in Chicago, so it should be another disgusting game with gross weather. Detroit favored by 3.5, 43.5 point over-under. I do like Chicago to cover in this game, and if you are a bettor, we have Justin Fields, right? He's got basically 4 more games to prove that he deserves a job in the NFL, because there's already reports that Chicago's taking a quarterback, right?
Yep.
Is it going to be on the Bears? Probably not. But as you see, the spread is going towards the Bears. It's already 3 on ESPN Bet. But I do like the Bears in this matchup. I think this game's going to be gross. I don't think that Detroit's going to play very well, particularly outside. We have seen Jared Goff struggle both on the road and outdoors in poor conditions. That's not just Jared Goff, it's the Detroit Lions as a whole. They're a home team. They play much better at home, and their scheme and the way they run their offense is much better at home. Their center is also injured and may miss the game as well, so that could be a problem for them. But the biggest key, Justin Fields in his last 3 matchups against the Detroit Lions, Ray, he has 10-plus carries in all those games and 108 rushing yards or more in each of the last 3 games against the Detroit Lions. So for everyone who likes Justin Fields this week, it is another phenomenal matchup. I don't care if he passes even once. He has one of the highest over-unders for rushing yards on the entire week, including running backs. 62.5, juice to the over right now, 10-plus, 10.5 carries, a little bit juice to the under there. But if you want to bet on that, again, it's a very high number for a quarterback. We don't see Lamar Jackson with 62.5 over-unders for rushing yards, and we know he's one of the best in the league. Fields against the Lions, though, is just about cash money, over 100 the last 3 games, so it is a great spot for Fields. But I do like the Bears to cover. The question is, though, Ray, would you start Sammy Ballgame in this matchup? Because the Bears are very good. Like, they are a very good defense. They've been playing phenomenal over the past little bit, and especially when you talk about Jared Goff, the Bears have allowed only 12.8 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, which is 7th best in the NFL, and 204 passing yards per game, which is 6th best in a game that could be ugly with poor conditions. I don't know if Jared Goff is a must-start in single quarterback leagues this week.
Must start? Probably not a must start. But, I mean, how gross do you want to get? You're probably going to have, again, we're in week 14, man. You're probably going to have to start him. When you look at the other quarterbacks, Bryce Young, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, no thanks. Are you going to start Jake Browning or Gardner Minshew? I get what they did last week, but do you feel better about starting those guys than Jared Goff? Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ridder, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Josh Dobbs, Aiden O'Connell. I'm just rattling off names. You probably are going to be starting Jared Goff even in single quarterback leagues. That means if this weather and all this stuff, the game script, the total plays out the way that you said, Jay, then you need to be firing up David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, no doubt about it. Amon-Ra, you're playing him. Yeah, I'm starting Sam Laporta, man. I'm starting. I don't care if the other side is historically or statistically, we're in week 14. There's no way in hell anybody's going to sit Sam Laporta. So absolutely, you're going to start him. And listen, you're just going to have to live with the outcome. Not every time you start a player, they're going to blow up. But here's what I always tell fantasy managers, Jay. If it's between Sam Laporta and, I don't know, just David Njoku, right? Whomever it may be, which player would you feel absolutely gutted about on your roster going off, on your bench going off? And for me, if you bench Sam Laporta for Njoku, you benched him, try to get cute and put in some Packers tight end, and then that Laporta gets you 2 touchdowns on your bench, you're sick. So I'm rolling out Sam Laporta. The chemistry that he has with Jared Goff seems to be a real thing. I'm fine with it, despite the fact that it may be a difficult matchup, Jay. And I'm with you with Justin Fields, DJ Moore. I also saw that Deontay Foreman is back. They have activated Deontay Foreman, and he is back and healthy as well. Hopefully, Jay, what we do get is some more Roschon Johnson, because I do like what we got to see out of the young man when they give him some opportunity. So Chicago, Detroit should be a fun game. Start your studs in that one. DJ Moore, absolutely. Cole Kmet, absolutely. Amon-Ra Laporta, Montgomery, Gibbs. And if you have better options in Goff, cool. If not, I've got faith throwing them out there against this defense as well. Jay, the next game that you have on the slate to talk about, and you don't have a lot of notes in this one.
No.
Bryce Young versus Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, the Panthers and the Saints, 37.5 point total, over under. New Orleans favored by 5 right now, Jay. Wow, 5 points. Get to it, Jay. Talk about it. Saints, Panthers.
So the Panthers, Ray, I don't know if you knew this, but they actually have one of the best pass defenses in the NFL.
I did know that.
And if you'll recall, that last season, there was another team who had a great pass defense, and it was the Houston Texans. And that was because they were the worst rushing defense in the NFL. And so I don't really give a damn who the hell is starting at quarterback, whether it's Derek Carr or Jameis Winston. The Saints need to run the hell out of the ball to win this game, because the Carolina Panthers can't stop anybody on the ground right now. And so you talk about Alvin Kamara, obviously you're starting him. They just need to get him the ball. Whether it's through the air or on the ground, he needs to get the ball. That's how they're going to win. That's how teams beat the Carolina Panthers. It was the same recipe for success against the Houston Texans last season. This season, obviously, with DeMeco Ryans, it's much different. But the Panthers playing out the exact same way. Run the ball, get it to Kamara, and you will win the game. Because the Saints defense is good enough to stop Bryce Young and not allow him to score any points. So if they do that, they're going to be fine. But honestly, it's Olave, and that's it for me. I'm not starting Adam Thielen. At least I don't want to. I don't know if you want to start Jonathan Mingo over what happened last week. I don't want to against the Saints, because the Saints have the best defense against outside wide receivers. They only allow 5.2 fantasy points per game to outside wide receivers since week 9, which is best in the NFL. Second is the Jets. So it's not a great spot for Bryce Young. It's not a great spot for the pass catchers. It's legit just Olave and Kamara, and I would start Taysom Hill if he's active, because he's a tight end. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, nobody else from that side. And on the Carolina side of the ball, I don't want to start Adam Thielen. I don't want to. You may be forced to. Mingo much lower than Thielen. I still want to give that some time to see if he could develop into anything, but much lower. I do not feel good in week 14 putting Jonathan Mingo in any starting lineup. But I would say, I'm fine with Chuba Hubbard. I like the volume that he got. They've committed to running the ball. He is their lead running back. I'd be just fine rolling out Chuba Hubbard. So I really don't have any fear. Even against the stout New Orleans defense, I don't have any fear, Jay, rolling out Chuba Hubbard in that matchup. Indianapolis and Cincinnati, Jay. Indy is favored by 1 point, 44 point total over under in this Browning versus Minshew matchup. What do we have in this one, Jay? Browning and Minshew, baby. I know the total is low, but is this one, well, it's higher now. Could this be a little sneaky shootout? Could this be a little sneaky shootout?
So another game, right, that depends a little bit on the weather. But yeah, you talk about the total and the defenses. I mean, both defenses have been atrocious this year. We've talked countlessly about how the Indianapolis Colts allow 30 points a game all the time, and it seems like this happens regularly.
Yes.
And then, of course, the Bengals have been playing worse and worse every single week on defense. So I was going to ask you, Browning or Minshew in your super flex spot, Ray, and then I will rattle off the stats. Because Browning, obviously coming off a phenomenal game this past week, big win. Minshew as well, phenomenal performance, big win. Who would you rather start in your Superflex spot?
It's a tough question, man. This is a tough question. The Colts, what's crazy is, and I found this out, Jay, as I was doing some research for Bleacher Report for Monday, They've got a top 6 scoring offense and a bottom 4 give it up defense. They can score points in bunches, but they're also going to give up points in bunches. I'm probably going to pick Minshew, Jay. I'm probably would start Gardner Minshew in this one, and a couple of reasons why. Since he's favored, the point total right now, 43.5, so it should be a decent scoring matchup. We know that the Bengals will score on Indianapolis. Now, is that on the ground? I don't think Jake Browning is going to go out there and have another 500-yard passing performance. But I do trust Gardner Minshew to garbage time his way to relevance, as he always does. He runs around. He's got Michael Pittman. They've got the rushing attack with Zach Moss. They're probably like a coin flip, personally. They're probably like a coin flip, but I would throw Gardner Minshew out there over Jake Browning. But, I mean, convince me otherwise, Jay, and it probably doesn't take a lot of convincing.
No, it's actually, you're 100% on the right side of the coin. It is 100% Gardner Minshew over Jake Browning. It's not even particularly close. And just like I talked about in the past, the Colts as well have a surprisingly great defense against quarterbacks and wide receivers. They are top 3 in the NFL right now. In the past month, they've allowed only 11.5 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. The Bengals, on the other hand, have allowed 21.9 and 295 passing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. On the season, that number is still 270. So Minshew is going to be able to throw the ball on this Bengals defense.
Yes.
They will allow yards through the air. And because the Indianapolis Colts are a little bit more stout against the quarterbacks and very bad against the run, it would be advantageous for them to protect Browning a little bit, run the ball with Chase Brown and with Joe Mixon. That's the way I think they would want to attack this defense, because Indy's been giving up a ton of yards on the ground, especially over the last month or so. So you look at those two quarterbacks and you say, what's the way to beat the Bengals? It's through the air, and the best way to beat the Colts is actually on the ground. And so I think that you're definitely on the right side of this. You want to start Minshew. And I was kind of alluding to this, but I would 100% start Gardner Minshew over Jared Goff this week. 100%. I would. I think the matchup, the way he's been playing, obviously Michael Pittman, you're starting him. I would consider Josh Downs.
Defense. You are very concerned.
No one wants to give the. And Ray, I talked about this a little while ago on Bleacher Report. Like, no one wants to give Matt Eberflus any credit, but their defense is playing way better. And that Montez Sweat trade is looking pretty good. People are like, oh, how are you trading another second-round pick? It's going to be another high pick. It's like, okay, but Montez Sweat's actually playing well. The defense is generating a pass rush, and they're a much improved defense. So you think about, from that perspective alone, like, they're basically top 5 in the NFL over the last month against quarterbacks. You don't want to play quarterbacks against the Bears right now. But yeah, you do want to play quarterbacks against the Bengals, because the Bengals are atrocious. They're one of the worst defenses in the NFL, especially in the secondary. So I'm with you. I like Indy to win this game. I do think they are going to win it. We'll see what happens with the weather, so monitor that, because the total looks good. The game environment should be good. There should be a lot of points. I think Browning could come back to earth a little bit in this one, but I do like Minshew a lot in this matchup.
Well, let me just ask you a couple of questions for Would You Rather with some of the quarterbacks that we've already discussed. Jake Browning or Derek Carr?
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning or Bryce Young?
I guess Jake Browning.
Jake Browning or the Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford in that windy game versus Baltimore on the road?
Ooh.
You said they
I would
weren't
take
gonna
Stafford.
Okay. All right. Houston versus the Zach Wilson-led Jets, Jay. Houston versus the Jets. We talked about it at the beginning. Zach Wilson is back in the saddle, back under center for the Jets. They're done with the Boyle-Simeon experience, and the likelihood that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back continues to decrease by the day, even though we knew he wasn't freaking playing this season at all, regardless, coming off of that torn Achilles. But you got C.J. Stroud. That's really what it's about. It's the Houston side of the ball. Let's go ahead and get through the Jets really quickly. Yes, start Garrett Wilson. Yes, start Breece Hall.
That's it.
Enlist.
Yeah,
Desperation. Massive tight end premium. Last ditch Tyler Conklin. Fine. But enlist. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Let's move to Houston and talk about C.J. Stroud. Jay, I took a bet last night on Bovada plus money on C.J. Stroud to throw for 217 yards. I understand this is Jets. I get it. But somehow, whenever they're playing with Zach Wilson, that enthusiasm and motivation just seems to wane a little bit. I like C.J. Stroud. I know this is a difficult matchup. I know he doesn't have Tank Dell. This is a big game for him. On the road in New York, conditions could be a little crazy. A low point total in this one.
Very low.
But I still think Stroud is going to go out there and put on a show in the Big Apple, man. I feel like he's going to do his thing in this matchup and really put the final nail in the New York Jets 2023 season in that coffin. What do you think about this matchup, Jay? And we've already talked about the Jets players. No need to go into that. But from the Houston Texans side of the ball, Stroud, you've got Nico Collins, you've got Dalton Schultz, you've got the 2 running backs. Where are you at with this one?
So the biggest question for me is Noah Brown, right? Because he's the guy that's probably on your roster, especially, if you listen to us, but do you want to start him against this Jets team? The key here, Ray, and especially when you talk about Nico Collins as well, the Jets allow nothing outside. I already kind of alluded to that. The Saints are number 1, Jets are number 2. So Collins is already going to be struggling because he doesn't run any routes from the slot. But Noah Brown does. 45% of his routes come from the slot. That's from Player Profiler if you want to go look that data up. So shout out to them for that. And they allow all their points to the slot. So if anyone's going to get busy, it's going to be either Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, or Noah Brown. I don't know if I would flex Noah Brown. I think there are better options out there. But if you did need to start him, I don't think it's a bad spot. Half his routes come from the slot. That's where all the points come from against the Jets. So there is opportunity there. I don't love CJ in this matchup because the Jets are top 3 in the NFL against wide receivers and 4th best against quarterbacks. So again, you mentioned 3,540 yards rate. Did you know that is number 1 amongst qualified quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
I did know that. He is very good. He is very good, Jay.
And dead last among qualified quarterbacks,
Zach Wilson.
Bryce Young.
Oof.
Zach Wilson is worse, but yeah, but Bryce Young is at the bottom of the list right now amongst qualified quarterbacks who I think have played 12 or more games or something like that. It's hilarious to see number 2 pick at the top and number 1 at the bottom.
Did you happen to see the report about David Tepper telling the coaching staff about Bryce Young's footwork and what he need? All I'm going to say is that situation, I feel for not just him, but these players who hit these coaching staffs that are just incompetent. You got David Tepper phoning down to the OC. Hey, I know what's wrong with Bryce. His footwork is off. You need to do this. Make him drop back. It's just a shit show in Carolina, man. It is an absolute shit show out there. And the reality is it probably isn't getting any better anytime soon. We'll see what happens. No. But in this matchup from the Houston side of the ball, are you starting C.J. Stroud this week, or are you going to bench him for your favorite Gardner Minshew?
I'm starting him, but I'm reluctant because, again, he's C.J. Stroud.
Too far
we're not benching him,
okay.
But we'll see. We'll see because I do like the Jets defense. But yeah, as for the running backs too, I'd play Singletary. But again, it's not a great matchup for either guy. If you have some other backs that you could throw in there, you could be better off elsewhere. I can't think of who I would go with on the top of my head, but one guy who sticks out to me, if he was available, was Elijah Mitchell.
Here's a good question from Nissan Rob. You starting Fields or Stroud?
100% Fields. It's not even close.
Okay, we got another one. Gavin, Stroud or Dobbs?
Dobbs is very interesting because he plays in
Dobbs
Vegas.
Dobbs is in Mac Jones territory, man. He goes out there and launches a couple of picks. They're going to yank his ass. They're going to pull him out.
We got Jefferson, confirmed starter.
Well,
I don't hate the bold take. I don't hate it, but I wouldn't probably make that move.
Well, let's just go to that game since you brought it up. Minnesota Raiders, talk about it, Jay.
So we do have Justin Jefferson back. That's obviously the number 1 story. I think the biggest question, though, is can you start Jordan Addison with Justin Jefferson back? On board with Hawkinson, number 1 tight end in fantasy right now. Dude's a baller. Obviously starting him. The question for me is Addison, Ray, and I want your thoughts because I'm tempted to bench him. But the only reason why I wouldn't is because that him and Dobbs have some chemistry. Not a ton of chemistry, but they do have some chemistry. He has had good games with Dobbs. But I think that Dobbs is going to actively target Justin Jefferson because he's Justin Jefferson, right? And so does that come at the expense of a Jordan Addison? And can Dobbs support 3 pass catchers, which I think we both admit he probably can't, right? So you're not benching Jefferson, but would you start Addison if you have better options? Because I do have him in Scott Fishbowl, and I'm thinking about starting him.
Give me some options. Give the people some Addison over
Rashee Rice.
Man, all right. Table that one. Table that one. Give me another name.
Brandon Cooks. An easy one.
Man, that's going to be it. Man. Give me another one.
Drake London.
Oh, yeah, you're starting him over Drake London. Yes. So there's in there. You get
Garrett Wilson.
I'm starting Garrett Wilson.
Okay. All right. Let's see who else we got.
Rasheed Rice, I'm probably
really
starting
tough.
Rasheed Rice versus Buffalo over Addison versus
Zay Flowers.
Yeah, you don't like anybody in that game anyway. So yes, I would start Addison over Zay Flowers.
And part of it is the conditions, right? People need to know this. Like Minnesota's favored. It's in Vegas, so it's indoor. No issue with the weather. The total should be good.
With weather. Yeah.
And you can be concerned about Dobbs, but I think that both sides are going to put up points, right? We trust Adams. We like Jacoby Myers.
Yes.
Josh Jacobs is actually playing particularly well.
Yes.
And the big thing is Minnesota likes to blitz, so there is big plays to be had on both sides.
Opportunities on the outside.
Yes. Exactly. I do like Addison. I don't know if he's must-start territory, but to your point, we're trying to find names, and there's not a whole lot that we would start over him. I'm looking at Evans. I'm looking at Chris Godwin. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'd start
Jeff,
Chris
I'm
Godwin
just like
over him.
DJ Khaled, another one. I have no answer. Give me another one. Another one. Yeah, DJ Khaled. I do think you're right, though. There's going to be one-on-one opportunities. Yeah. The Raiders' defense, they're going to give up points. What's the total in this one? What's the game
40.
total? 40.5. Vikings favored by 3 on the road. I think I'm okay with Addison. He should see, and here's the thing, Jay. He should see that one-on-one coverage with Justin Jefferson back. I don't care if he's just returning. He's on the field. He's going to command the attention of safeties, corners, linebackers, defensive coordinators. Should yield some one-on-one opportunity on the outside. But is this the first time we're going to see Dobbs, Jefferson, Addison, and Hockenson on the field at the same time? Yeah, It's going to be trying to figure out what that's
going to see where the ball goes, right?
Yeah. Right. See where the ball goes. But I'm okay with it. Alexander Madison, I'm fine with starting him. Madison's been fine. Yeah. Madison's been fine. We know he's not.
The story of Madison, right? He's just fine. Like he's startable, but he's just fine.
You know who that was last year who was just fine and is actually smashing for us in fantasy this year? You know who that is? Know who that is, Jay?
Zeke?
Tampa Bay.
Oh, Rachaad White. Yeah,
Rachaad White
is balling,
still averaging sub 40 yards in an attempt, but he's must-start territory. So fire up your Madisons. Is this real? He doesn't have a rushing touchdown on the season?
I don't know, bro. Remember we talked about this early in the year? It took the Vikings like 8 weeks just to get a rushing touchdown, period.
Wrong sounder. 0. 16th in carries, top 25 in yards, and 0 rushing touchdowns on the season for Alexander Madison.
Downs or Addison? I just love Shane Steichen so much. I just love him.
Gavin, we got it. We had this start. Y'all gotta have some patience, man. We're trying to get through the show. Downs or Addison? Give me Addison. All right, Jay, where we at next? Let's go Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Tampa Bay and the Atlanta
Ritter game,
Falcons.
Baby.
Is it a Ritter game?
I'm not gonna say it's a Ritter game, but the big thing, Ray, is can you start Pitts or London? I think you can start Kyle Pitts, but I would not start Drake London. The other question is Chris Godwin, right? Chris Godwin limited usage last week. There's lots of reports he's not playing a lot of snaps, but then he was playing a lot of snaps, and it's kind of a dumpster fire. But it sounds like it's a non-issue going forward. I don't really particularly like Chris Godwin in this matchup. If you want to bench him, you can. Tampa Bay, middle of the pack defensively against wide receivers, so London is okay, but I still don't like him because he has Desmond Ridder as his quarterback. But you look at Atlanta, they are much more stout against receivers, so you only want to start Mike Evans. I would not start Chris Godwin. Jonnu and Pitts are startable if you're desperate, but Cade Otton has one of the best matchups in the NFL. Atlanta allowing a league best 11.8 targets and 94 receiving yards to tight end since week 9. So a lot of volume, not just fantasy production, where I believe they're in the top 5, but actual volume headed towards the tight ends. So Baker Mayfield to Cade Otton could be a immediate connection in this game because it's a phenomenal matchup. You're obviously starting Bijan, starting Rachaad White, starting Mike Evans. I'm not all in on starting London, but I think that Pitts and Jonnu are viable options if you're desperate.
Man, that's a great quick recap through that one. What about Algier? You gonna play Algier? He's gonna get 15 touches. You know he is. Arthur Smith loves him.
He's been bad, man. I can't start Algier right now. He has been
bad. Rachaad White, Mike Evans, and I was watching the game last week, and I was thinking about you, Jay, because Trey Palmer was getting in the action a little bit, man. You talked about just dynasty stash. Dynasty stash away Trey Palmer. He
gets on the field. Whether he gets production or not, he is the third receiver on that team, and he gets looks from time to time. And so he's a guy who, if Mike Evans leaves or Chris Godwin wants out, he may be the only show in town besides a rookie going forward.
Are you finally going to admit that Mike Evans is good at football? Are you finally going to admit Mike Evans is good? Because you've been very disrespectful to Mike Evans for a long time.
I don't particularly like Mike Evans. I've been very open about that.
Honest quote, what is it about Mike Evans you don't like? 10 straight
His game
years.
is ugly. It's just an ugly game. He can't really run routes very well. He's always falling over, getting into fights, picking fights with players I like. It's just not good.
Here, man.
But if you listen to my podcast about underrated wide receivers, Mike Evans was number one. I said he was the most underrated receiver in best ball drafts over the summer. So I did give credit to Mike Evans because he does look pretty good. But yeah, obviously he's having a phenomenal season with Baker Mayfield. Very underrated all off season and continues to produce. Definitely you are starting Mike Evans. So no concerns there at all.
All right, Jay. In the last non-marquee matchup game that we have on the schedule, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, who's the
Let's
Cleveland
go,
Browns?
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cleveland Browns.
Let's
I'm
go.
sorry, Cleveland Browns are on time. I'm thinking about prop bets, man. I'm thinking about the Cavs tonight. I'm thinking about Mitchell and Evan Mobley. My bad. The Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco, man. Joe Flacco. Cleveland, Jacksonville.
Please, Joe Flacco.
And it looks like, Jay, Trevor Lawrence is in. Looks like Trevor Lawrence may play. My opinion.
Why?
On the road versus this defense, clearly hobbled. He's got a knee brace, ankle ain't 100%. Like, why would you do that? And you know who they play next week? They play the Baltimore Ravens. Like, let them heal up versus Flacco. But neither here nor there. Jacksonville, Cleveland, Amari Cooper was in concussion protocol.
Still not
They
practicing.
can't run the ball, but
Probably
they try to run the ball, which I appreciate. Flacco had more deep targets in one game than Zach Wilson, Bryce Young combined on the season. I don't know what's going on, but talk about this one real quick, Jay.
So the biggest wild card is Elijah Moore, right? Elijah Moore had 12 targets last week. Shane wrote about him in his article, Follow the Volume. Go and check that out on DestinationDevy.com. But my question is can you start him this week? Again, this is depend on Joe Flacco because Flacco was the one who was targeting him. If it's DTR, I don't know what to do, but he could be the number one option. And more importantly, if Flacco starts, Jacksonville's allowing the second most fantasy points per game to slot wide receivers since week 9 and fifth amongst all wide receivers. So the matchup for the wide receivers is great. And Franz is asking the question, Elijah Moore or Jordan Addison? And I would be inclined to take Elijah Moore if Joe Flacco is starting because, again, we'll see what happens, whether it's DTR or Flacco. Flacco was getting first-team reps on Wednesday and Thursday, but DTR is coming back from his concussion. I do like Elijah Moore, especially if he's the number one target. It's going to be gross. It's going to be a PPR style of game, but he could catch 8 passes on another 10 to 12 targets. And at that point, you'd want to have that guy in your flex for sure. So I am definitely fine starting Elijah Moore and would potentially take that volume over starting a Jordan Addison in maybe a better weather game. Even though the total's low, probably a gross matchup. Cleveland is currently favored, but if Trevor Lawrence plays, I mean, maybe not.
He's practiced 2 games. Let 2 days. Let's see if he practices today.
He's probably playing.
He's probably out there. So let me ask this question, Jay. Let's start with the Cleveland side of the ball. Irrespective of the quarterback, Flacco, DTR, either way, we don't feel great about the pass catchers. Realistically, it's Elijah Moore, David Njoku, and Amari Cooper if he clears or is active, which I don't know if that's the case.
Probably
or
not going to be.
Yeah. Running game, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt. You starting them versus Jacksonville regardless?
No. I don't want to start really either of them. I would probably pick Kareem Hunt if I had to pick anyone. He's the guy who's been getting the volume. But yeah, it's not a good matchup. Jacksonville is very good against the run and has been pretty good against the run. It's one of their better statistics. They're, okay against the pass, but particularly you want to beat them with wide receivers. And I think if you have Flacco willing to air it out, that's probably the route you go. But the weather could be very bad in this game as well.
And if CJ Beathard is the quarterback, which pass catchers are you starting from the Jaguars?
Zay Jones. Zay Jones would be the one that take a shot
Calvin
on.
Ridley?
So my problem is Calvin's going to get doubled, right? So if he gets doubled against the Browns, he's probably not going to do a whole lot.
Calvin Ridley, no way.
But there's no Christian Kirk, right? He's out. He's not playing. So your only other option is Evan Ingram and Zay Jones. We saw Zay Jones and Beathard have a bit of a connection already last week. So I don't hate if you got to play Zay Jones as a desperate flex because he's going to get more volume, and he's the guy who's going to see single coverage over Calvin Ridley. So I think that's the only argument to playing a Zay Jones over a Calvin, or not over a Calvin Ridley, but the better option because he's going to see single coverage, and the Browns give up big plays every week. They play too much man coverage, and they allow big plays every week. So there is big plays to be had, at which point Zay Jones is probably the guy to make those big plays.
And we also, I'm looking at the injury report, Kareem Hunt, DTR, Amari Cooper, Denzel Ward, all questionable. So they're going to play. I would not start the rookie phenom Parker Washington. Do not do that. Not without Trevor Lawrence. Do not throw Parker. I know there was a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype and enthusiasm. Don't do that. Not yet. But those dudes are going to play questionable all week. It's the end of the – let me tell y'all something right now. Ain't nobody practicing. It's week 14. These superstars that are a little nicked up, they ain't going to practice all week. Najee didn't practice all week. They're going to jam them in there on Sundays and on game day. So I'm not really worried about Kareem Hunt. If you're questionable, you're probably going to play, Jay. So let's pull into the marquee matchups, Jay. We've got Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo, Kansas City, and then we got the big game, Dallas versus Philly, and we're saving that one for last because there's a lot of projected points in that matchup, Jay. So quickly, so we get Mitch in the building. We got San Francisco and Seattle. Geno Smith, your boy, versus my boy, Brock Purdy. It's Brock, Geno. You got DK. You got CMC. You got Deebo Samuel. There's a lot of goodness in this game. There's a lot of good stuff in this matchup. Both sides of the ball. Looks like you said Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker going to play. Jackson Smith and Jigba getting stuff going. Noah Fant getting touchdown passes called back. There could be a lot of scoring in this matchup, Jay. So talk about it. 10.5. Good Lord for San Francisco. Okay, well, shit. Go talk about it, Jay. 10.5.
Number one question isn't so much can Seattle win the game, it's can they cover the 10.5 point spread? Because to your point, San Francisco just beat the hell out of the Eagles, and I think we both believe the Eagles are a lot better than the Seattle Seahawks are, and the Seahawks already got beat down at home against the Niners. Now they have to go into San Francisco. Ray, I don't expect it to be much of a game, but maybe Seattle can build off their momentum last week against the Cowboys where they put up a phenomenal offensive performance. The issue is that Seattle is just not that good on offense. They're not. And this spread, as you see, is getting a little bit wider depending on where you look. It's 11, 10.5. It's not great. The point total looks good, but a lot of those points are going to come from the San Francisco side. And so that's the biggest problem. You look at Geno Smith over the course of his career against San Francisco. In the last 3 games he's played them, Ray, he's averaged 200 yards. He's thrown 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. That doesn't include the game he played in the playoffs, where I believe he threw 2 touchdowns to DK in that game. But in the regular season, especially on the road, he hasn't played overly well. And so I don't love him this week, but if you think he can play catch up, maybe throw a couple touchdowns, not a terrible option. So that's a big problem for me already. The running backs, Christian McCaffrey, best matchup of the week, best matchup of the season. Seattle allows 32 points per game to opposing running backs. It's great. Kenneth Walker, though, Ray, sneakily has some potential in the receiving game. San Francisco, number 1 in the NFL, 13 carries, 42 yards on a per game basis, 2 running backs, not 2 starting running backs, 2 all running backs in the last month of the season. So they've been playing great, but through the air, they are allowing 6 receptions and 42 yards, which is top 7 in the league. So if Walker can catch some passes, maybe he is fantasy viable. We are starting, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. But another guy who I actually do have hopes for is DK Metcalf, because San Francisco has been getting beat deep, especially outside. That's the way you've been beating. They've been allowing the 4th most fantasy points in the league to outside wide receivers, but are average in terms of yards allowed. They cover the slot very well, so I don't love JSN because San Francisco is only allowing the 4th fewest points to the slot right now. So you look at San Francisco, you're starting everybody. Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy. Start them all. On the Seattle side, though, Ray, I'm starting Kenneth Walker. I'm starting DK Metcalf, and I think that's the end of the list. Geno can be a super flex quarterback if you need him because the weather will be good, more likely than not, and he probably can throw at least 1 touchdown, at which point I'm fine with him as my super flex quarterback.
Well, just take the whole segment. I don't even need to say anything. I can't add anything. You dropped great stats. I wanted to chime in. You stole everything that I can't even talk about anybody. But I agree with you, Jay, and the chat wants to know why you hate Geno Smith so much. Permafrost 77, so JRich loves some Geno. And then we got Gavin. I feel you. Gavin's like, dude, can y'all just do a whole nother show for Sunday Night Football? Can we just stop this one and wake up and just spend an hour talking about Sunday Night? I wish we could, because it is that good to talk about it. 11 points, that's a lot of points. That's a lot to cover. 11, but Jay, I took the Eagles confidently last week. They won't lose by 14.5 points. Not a chance Philly will lose by 15 points. They got freaking foot put right up in their backside and got destroyed. So we'll see how San Francisco plays.
They just beat them 31-13 on the road.
And now they're home. Man, yeah.
Now they're at home.
Looking at the injury report, Jamal Adams stinks. Yeah, this is Man,
it's just Elijah Mitchell could be decent if he's available.
Now you're
if he's available.
Okay. You did a great.
It's the number one matchup in the league. I'm telling you, man. It's a good spot. It's a good spot.
Real quick, before we bring Mitch in and talk about the Kansas City Buffalo game, Brock Purdy MVP. Talk about it real quick.
He's the favorite, as he should be. It took a little while, but finally, Ray, people have come around, and Brock Purdy is the favorite to an MVP. I'm sure people got some big tickets on Purdy. I hope they do. But your boy Dak, he's still coming. He's still coming. It seems like whoever wins the NFC and has that number one seed, probably going to win the MVP.
All right, let's bring Mitch in, man. Let's bring our boy DFS and Donuts in. Mitch Carl in the building. DFS and Donuts in the building. What's going on, Mitch? You know, this is something that we want to do, Jay, this offseason. We've talked about bringing more guests on. We've got some draft people that are going to come on in the springtime in February and March and talk prospects. And at this point in time, fantasy playoffs are about to start. Your fantasy season's over, but stay tapped in. You can have a little fun, play some games, make a little coin in the NFL. And we got one of the best in the damn building, Mitch Carl at DFS and Donuts. He is the captain of the My Sparry Army, and he's been on an absolute heater. And I'm just going to say he is a Buffalo Bills fan. He says some pretty ridiculous things about the Bills and them going to the Super Bowl. Mitch, let's talk about it, baby. Good to have you back again. We missed you last Monday, but we're in the building. Buffalo, Kansas City. Let's talk about this game, Mitch. What are you thinking is happening in this one? Kansas City has been struggling. Buffalo trying to find their feet. The last time we saw them play, they gave up points, losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. But where are we at in this matchup? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, where could we make some money, Mitch? Talk about it.
Well, first off, what's up, Jay? What's up, Ray? What's up to the DD community? Thanks for having me on today. You
Absolutely.
brought me on for the right segment, my man. I freaking love this game. Buffalo Bills covering not just in KC, but they're taking home the W this week. No. I'm serious, man. Bills are going to circle the wagons. It's MVP Josh Allen time. There he is. Looking good, looking fresh in that 1-7. I'm taking him over 33.5 rushing yards this week. I will talk about that ad nauseum in a second. But I truly think the Bills are in an interesting spot here. They are in a must-win situation, basically every game going forward and previously as well. But listen, man, it's Buffalo going into KC. No one expects it to happen. The spread is indicative of the fact that the sharp bettors right now think that this game's going to be a lot more competitive than I think the average fan believes it will be. And we continue to see KC have problems scoring points. We are now seeing the Bills not have problems scoring points. And I think that if the Bills can get a 7 to 10 point lead, it's going to be tough sledding for all you KC fans out there, especially in that second half, as I believe I saw a random stat 2 weeks ago. KC scoring the least points in the NFL in the second half means teams adjust at halftime, and KC just does not have the personnel talent right now to overcome those adjustments. It's just a broken play zone read to Kelsey, and guess what the Bills don't play a lot of? Zone defense. They bring the house, they play a lot of man, and that is what KC has struggled against this season. I think it's going to be a check down day to guys like JRich McKinnon. I think Rashee Rice struggles on the outside, and I think that Kelsey is going to get clamped by a guy over the middle, playing the top seam, get the safety bumping up against him. They bump coverage off the end, and I think he's just going to struggle a little bit in this game. I think Bills take this in a shocking road victory in Arrowhead.
Shocking.
All right, Jay,
what's the score, Mitch? Score
Jay.
Predictions?
Talk about it, Jay. What are your thoughts? Because in the show sheet, you said nothing to talk about with the quarterbacks.
Top 3 quarterbacks in the league, right? We don't need to talk much about the quarterbacks.
You're starting those guys. There's no doubt about it. But I think
best of the best.
We're going to save the pass catchers for last because I do want to talk about Diggs, Kincaid, Gabe Davis, Kelsey, and Rashee Rice. But quickly, James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. Those 2 running backs, Jay. You got some notes in here. Talk about, and I know Pacheco's banged up right now, and let me see. Yeah. Is he questionable? He's probably going to play.
He hasn't practiced yet. Hasn't practiced yet. So we're waiting to see if he practices tomorrow, but I think he's still got his feelings hurt over getting ejected last game. So we'll see.
Pacheco should be. I was going to say, he had some extended rest. He should be okay. I'm not worried about Pacheco. Dawson Knox potentially returning, but talk about the running backs, James Cook and Isaiah Pacheco real quick.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is that I do not want to start a running back who is a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I would consider a JRich McKinnon, but if Pacheco is unavailable, then you would look to McKinnon. You wouldn't look at Clyde. But if Pacheco's in, I'm starting him. Like, it's a matchup with a good total. There should be points. And the way he played last week, you got to start him. So I'm definitely in on Pacheco this week. I think it's a great matchup against the Bills. I think that through heaven or high water, Casey needs to lean on Isaiah Pacheco because he's the only stable piece they have in their offense outside of Travis Kelce, and even he's not playing very well right now. So I would not start a Clyde if you have a situation where maybe Isaiah Pacheco's out, you have him on your bench, keep him on the bench because the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills do not allow points to opposing running backs. They do allow it through the air a little bit, 5.8 receptions and 42 yards per game through the air, but not so much on the ground. Only 19 carries, 78 yards, and 0.3 touchdowns on the ground at average to all running backs in the last month. When you talk about James Cook, the issue is that Casey doesn't allow a ton through the air, 4 receptions and 26 yards, and about 100 yards a game on the ground, slightly better than Buffalo allows, and 0.8 touchdowns over the last month. So you're praying that James Cook get in the end zone. I do still like to start him this week because, again, the total, there's always the chance that Allen and Mahomes go off. But if you're talking about running backs, it's JRich McKinnon if Pacheco's out, and I would be starting James Cook, and I would not start Latavius Murray. Outside of that, though, I'm good. And obviously, Pacheco, as I mentioned, you are full sending him because I love me some Pacheco right now.
All right, I got 2 things. One, Eric Bryan is right. 40 likes is sad. Let's get the lights up. And Eric, send us a DM. Go on X, send DD a DM. We want to get you a shirt, man. Appreciate the love and just encouraging people to hit that thumbs up button. So we got you covered. Send a DM. Give me your address, your shirt size. We're going to get something out to you, Eric. Thank you for that. Appreciate you always watching the show. And I am about to do something that I said I would never do. I am about to pander to the media masses right now. I just saw Taylor Swift was named the Times Person of the Year. I saw it, Jay. I just Time Person of the Year. Her and Kelce have been together a lot longer than we have been privy to this. So, y'all, the pass catchers. We got a couple of people talking about Rashee Rice, 100 yards, 2 tutties. This feels like a 152 tutty game for Stephon Diggs, who it feels like, where's Diggs been? I need more Diggs. I want more Diggs. So the pass catchers, Kincaid, Kelce, Diggs, Rashee Rice. Mitch, give us something. What you think?
Yeah, honestly, my strongest lean on the pass catching situation this week is the Bills are just going to clamp down on Kelce and force these young wide receivers who are mistake prone. They drop the ball a ton to try to beat them, and that's going to be it for the KC side. And on the Bills side, I agree. Where has Diggs been, Ray? And they've even talked about, we're going to get him involved earlier, try to get him early and often, and it's just not happening. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if his hips bother him, what it is, but it ain't happening right now, and I'm not sure it's going to happen this week either, and I don't feel confident enough, and maybe it's just my nervous Bills fan showing face a little bit. But I'm not touching a Bills pass catcher. I like the angle you guys talked about, James Cook. I like the stats on JRich McKinnon of running backs out of the backfield catching the football. That was an angle I was willing to take. I believe his 2.5 reception has been juiced to the over at this point, but that's still in play for me. And the Kelce play under 7.5 receptions was in earlier this week. I'm not sure what their line is right now.
Well, here's the thing. We could talk about all this Pacheco and Swift and Kelce and Taylor Swift and Mahomes and Allen, but y'all already know. Y'all know what you came for. Y'all tapped in. You know what you want on Sunday night or Sunday, and damn it, Dallas is going to give it to you, baby. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, round two, and it's going to end much different. It's going to end different. I don't know what the spread is. I just have that gut. I got the gut feel, Jay, just straight gut feel bets in this game for me, Eagles and Cowboys. Dallas is going to get it done. Dak Prescott is playing the best quarterback ball in the NFL right now. Defensively, not so good for Dallas, which means Philadelphia should score some points. I believe the total in this game, 52 points in this game. Am I correct? 50-something damn points in this matchup, Dallas and Philadelphia. So, Mitch, as the guest of the hour, Sunday Night Football, we're going to get into it. 51.5 on ESPN Bet. And the Cowboys are favored by 3.5 points in this matchup. Let's just run it from the top to the bottom. Mitch, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I actually have 2 comments before I get to any bets for this. First off, I am a bobo and totally forgot that Josh Allen over 33.5 rushing yards play Wanted to make that official. Didn't want your
There it
audience
is.
to miss out on that. Had a bunch of notes. Screw the notes. Take the over. Ray, Cowboys are favored by 3.5 points. How's that make you feel?
As
nervous.
we should
be honest. Be honest, nervous. This is for the division right here. They're a game back of the Niners, or game back right now.
GQ may or may not be at the game on Sunday. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous, but you need those nerves, right? You need those bubble guts. You need those. When you got the bubble guts, it means you understand the task at hand. You understand that your opponent is not a slouch, because they are not a slouch. You understand that you got to bring your best. And I talked to the boys, man. I hit Jerry up. I talked to them. They said they were ready. We're feeling good, man. Mitch, go into it.
Yeah, listen, man, pressure makes diamonds, right? Dak
There it
Prescott's
is.
going to be under pressure this weekend as the offense is going to be put on his shoulders. And I've been taking these bets over and over and over again all year against Philly, and I'm doing it again. I'm taking Dak Prescott over 295.5 passing yards, looking fresh over there on FanDuel Sportsbook, 295.5. Every other book at 301, that's a nice value. I don't even mind the 301, to be honest. 6 out of 12 quarterbacks this season against Philly have actually thrown for 300-plus passing yards, which is just wild. They give up the most pass attempts per game in the NFL, over 40 per game. We saw Dak throw for 44 pass attempts against Philly the last time they met, and he threw for 300, and don't quote me, I think it was 367 passing yards in that game. Dak on top of that has hit over 295 in 5 of the last 6 games. So again, just to wrap it all up, Dak has thrown the football a ton. He's chucking it down the field. His wide receivers are healthy. The running game is healthy. Offensive line is looking good. Philly on the other side, allowing opposing quarterbacks to chuck the football at will. They allow the second least rush attempts in the NFL as well, because people just don't even try to run against them.
Keep coming.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on,
So Tony
let's
Pollard,
go. I love
we're taking the under on his rush
Keep
attempts.
coming.
Dak
Let's
Prescott,
go. Keep it
we're taking the over on the
Pause.
yards.
Keep going. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Mitch, pump it up, baby. Dallas, say it, Mitch.
Let's go.
Dallas money line.
I just became a Cowboys fan.
Look at that. Look at
Dallas
that.
money line.
JRich. But in all seriousness, man, this Dallas defense has been shaky lately. It has been very shaky. It has been funneling. Geno Smith had a field day. You can beat Dallas through the air right now. I know Deron Bland is doing his thing, but Dallas's defense has struggled, and I do think Philadelphia will be able to move the ball. I see people talking about Devontae Smith. I mean, let's just move into the pass catchers quickly. You got Smitty, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and I'm putting all the pass catchers, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, Dallas Goedert. I haven't looked at any player prop lines for this game yet, but just theory and thinking about it, CeeDee Lamb should feast. CeeDee Lamb has been the guy. He should feast. I'm a little more, I guess, hesitant on the Philly side. A.J. Brown's going to do his thing, but who's it going to be this week? Is it an A.J. Brown week? Is it a Devontae Smith week? I feel like Philly's going to come out and the game script is going to be get the ball to Dallas Goedert early just because he's back. Jay, where do you think from the pass catcher side of the ball, is it, I mean, you're starting everybody, but which ones do you think are really going to produce league winning or prop winning upside this week from the pass catchers?
Yeah, for me, it would be A.J. Brown, right? He's going to have a higher total, absolutely, but he's the guy that I trust more than anybody to put up a big total and a crooked number against Dallas, right? He's the most physical. He's the strongest at the catch point. He's the guy that can really beat this Dallas defense. I think, you look at what Devontae Smith does well.
Get the hell out of here. Drew's been trolling damn Philly. Get the hell out of here, Drew. What's up, baby? Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
So Devontae Smith, right? He's obviously a route technician, but I think that's where Dallas is actually strong. They can stick with the receivers through the route, and that's what makes them so talented. But when you're going up against a more physical player, it's more difficult. CeeDee Lamb, like you talked about, 100 yards a game at home. Dallas, 40 points a game at home. Love Dak Prescott. Love everything Mitch said. He hit the nail on the head with Dak. Love Dak, love CD, love Brandon Cooks as well. I think he goes off in this matchup as that secondary receiver, because not only is one receiver going off against Philly, usually multiple receivers go off against Philly. And when you're talking about Dak Prescott overs, Mitch said it, 41 attempts per game, 300 yards. Philly allows the most in the league. And you said, I think, Mitch, 6 quarterbacks have gone over 300. I believe it's 5 quarterbacks have gone over 350 against the Philadelphia Eagles this season. So if you go even higher, the number doesn't get any better. It's really, really bad. And I believe Sam Howell's also done it twice against them. So for me, it is Cooks and CD, and I do like A.J. Brown on the back end. Outside of that, though, I think it's very unclear. I don't really love what I'm seeing from Hurts lately. I know he's going to get his points from a fantasy perspective, but I don't know who the ball is going to go to. I trust A.J. Brown, and that's about it. I like Smitty. I would start him in fantasy, but I don't know if I would take any of his props this week.
Mitch?
Yeah, I like a lot of what he said there, too, and I agree with the Devontae Smith. If you're going to take one of them, you just go to the alpha male. Give me some A.J. Brown, put the cool shades on as he walks into the locker room in the pregame. So A.J. Brown bets, I would probably look away from the receptions, away from the yards. Because, again, I think similar to what Jay just said, you don't know who it's going to be. But I would take him for an anytime touchdown. This is Sunday night football for one of the premier playmakers in the NFL, an absolute baller, and that is when I like to take those types of plays. Give me the anytime touchdown for A.J. Brown. I saw it at plus 110 last night when I was browsing. I think that's significant value. On the other side of the ball, give me a rising star in CD Lamb. And I know Ray likely has been just waiting for this to happen, but we're finally seeing it really kind of all come together. This is year 3 for CD, I believe it is. Maybe that's all it took. Took the year 3 step for him at wide receiver. He's become a red zone option, which is kind of wild. He has scored in 5 straight home games, and he's had, this is kind of nuts, 7 touchdowns in the last 5 home games as well.
TD Maker.
It's crazy. So TD Lamb, we could take him at minus 110. It's a nice, you like that.
That's
TD
nice.
Lamb.
I like that. That was sneaky, Mitch. That was sneaky. But I like it.
Sometimes we shoot and miss, but that was a direct hit. TD Lamb, I kind of like that one. TD Lamb, we're going to roll with that. I like that.
Just snuck it in there.
You snuck that in there. I like it.
I've been waiting to get the ball in audio sound there, so that one felt good right there. My show could end today, and I'd be happy as a clam. So I'm taking TD Lamb, baby.
DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. I know a lot of people have asked about Swift, and I know he's a little banged up, but JRich, how you feeling about both of those players?
I don't feel great about either one. If I was picking one, it would probably be Tony Pollard and pray he gets in the end zone. But as Mitch said, right, Philly doesn't allow a lot on the ground. They have one of the best rush Ds in the league, and they have one of the worst pass Ds. So there's no reason for them to do anything but drop back and pass it 50 times this game and put up 50 points, because that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably what should happen. And I don't love Pollard. It's literally just, can he get in the end zone? Great. He's, what is he right now on the board? Minus 150 to score on DK, so his odds are good to score. But outside of that, man, I don't want the rushing yards. I don't want the attempts. I would prefer Swift and pray he catches on the passes. People were asking about Kenneth Gainwell. Don't really love Gainwell in the matchup, but if you feel like you need to play him because he's hoping he catches passes, it's not a bad option. I think Philly's going to lose this game by probably 15-ish points. I really like Dallas.
Don't do any of that. I really like Dallas. No, I'm not. Don't do any of that stuff. Don't give any kind of predictions like that. I'll just say this.
When it happens, though, trust me.
I'll just say this. I'm looking at Tony Pollard's attempts, and I'm just on Prize Picks, and it's 15. I don't like it.
Way too high.
For me, it feels like one of these, Jay. Feels like an under, right? So I'm going to look on the books and see where it's at. I know he had 20 last week, but this feels like an under for Tony Pollard, just kind of looking at that. All right, Jay, anything else, Mitch, Jay, from this game? I mean, it's going to be an exciting game, y'all. Everybody is ready for this game. I do think that there are going to be a lot of points. Jake Ferguson, I'm looking at his line on Prize Picks, 41.5 yards. Fantasy, you absolutely fire him up. Fire up Jake Ferguson. Do I think he's going to go over that total? I mean, gut feel, it seems pretty low, but I need to look at the odds. And the great thing about doing that is you can shop the odds, shop for value using MySparry Edge. You can access that on DestinationDevy.com, or you can use the link in the description and go to Mitch's website, where he's also got a lot of other free tools for you to utilize as well. As always, we shop before we grub. Mitch, thank you for coming on to talk Buffalo, to talk Dallas, and all the great stuff that you're doing in the betting community. So anybody watching this live or after the fact, if you want some player props, follow this dude, man. He's giving away NBA, MLB when that rolls around, NFL. Mitch, thank you for being on today, man. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate y'all. See you Monday.
See you, man. JRich, all right, let's go ahead and round this bad boy out, Jay. We've got one more game that we did not talk about, and it's the what is this, Sunday 3 p.m. game? Denver versus the Chargers. We did not talk Denver Chargers.
Yeah.
43.5 point total. 43.5 point total. Not bad. Herbert Williams, Eckler's losing his job. Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton. Let's just go through the starts. Let's go skill position players. I'm just going to say a name. You give me starter sit in the matchup. Javonte Williams.
Start.
Jaleel McLaughlin.
No.
I'm just going through everybody. Samaje Perine.
No.
Austin Eckler.
You have to, but I don't want to. Like Gene had him as a sit last week. Great call. Denver's defense is good, so
I get it.
It's going to be rough.
You're not benching him if you unless you've got superior options. You're probably not benching him. Josh Kelly. Are you going to take the bait this week and start Josh Kelly?
No. You can't do that. Can't do that.
All right, this is an easy one. Keenan Allen, absolutely. Gerald Everett.
Yes, sir.
Gerald Everett.
Surprisingly, Denver not great against the tight end. So
I
think he's actually viable. Yeah.
Okay. Cortland Sutton. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You can start Cortland Sutton. You can.
Jerry
Only
Jeudy.
guy I trust though. No way. Never. He doesn't play, man. He's not on the field. He doesn't get targets. No. Can't do it.
Is there anybody else? Do you want to talk a tight end? Marvin Mims? No.
It's just Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett.
They say
Josh Palmer could be back, but the issue is Denver's defense is still top 3 in the NFL. Even the Keenan Allen matchup, it's not good, but you're starting Keenan Allen because he's Keenan Allen. But if you're talking about actual matchup auxiliary pieces, there's not a whole lot of guys you like in this matchup. But yeah, Josh Palmer practicing, could be back this week, but we don't know. And even if he is back, you don't want to start him, man. The matchup's terrible.
All right, we got a couple of questions. Play Swift over Nico. Would you play Swift or Nico Collins?
Wow, that's really hard. I guess I kind of lean Swift.
A little bit Swift, right? A little bit of Swift. All right. Nissan Rob said it's okay if we skip this game. Well, we're at the end. Wyatt Wallace said, run down all the game winners before we cut. Okay, let's do it.
You want to do a money line parlay?
You make the request. We fulfill your desires there, old Wyatt Wallace. All right, Jay.
Speak for yourself.
Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Who wins?
Tampa Bay.
Indy, Cincy.
Indy.
I think Atlanta beats Tampa Bay. I've got Indy over Cincy as well. Jacksonville, Cleveland with Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville, Cleveland with T-Law.
I'm going to take Jacksonville. Just barely.
Without T-Law.
Then I'll take Cleveland. ETN could have a huge game regardless.
Didn't Cleveland just get foot put in him by the Rams? I'm probably taking Jacksonville regardless, honestly. Houston Jets taking the Texans?
Yes.
Yep, we're in unison there. Baltimore at home versus the Rams. Ravens?
Baltimore. Yep.
You've got this one. It seems like you got an upset brewing with Detroit and Chicago. Detroit, Chicago.
So the issue for me is on the money line. I may still take Detroit, but yeah, the value I think is on Chicago for sure. I like the spread. I like the spread. Yeah. But
Saints, Panthers. Do the Panthers get a first win? Okay.
No.
San Francisco over Seattle.
Yeah.
Raiders, Minnesota.
That one's tough, man.
It's tough.
Minnesota's favored, but I would probably prefer the Raiders on the spread, so I will take the Raiders.
Same. Buffalo, KC.
KC.
I think Buffalo beats them. KC
has 1.5 point favorites, bro. Anytime you give Mahomes 2 points, I'm taking it. I don't care what it is. I don't care who it is.
I hear you. I think Buffalo.
I'm taking
gets
the 2 points, and I'm taking Mahomes.
All right, Dallas, Philly.
Dallas by 50.
And then the Chargers and we did Chargers Broncos. No, we didn't. Chargers Broncos.
Well, we didn't. I kind of like Denver.
I kind of like Denver too.
I wouldn't say it's a lock,
man,
but I kind of like them. The odds are a little short. The odds are a little short for me. Like if you get Denver like a plus 3.5, it'd be great, or like a minus plus 130, plus 114 is what I'm seeing. Okay value, and I just don't trust the Chargers. Like I don't trust the Chargers to score.
Man, I got minus 105 on ESPN Bet. There's just no value there. At plus,
and did you see?
They're 2.5 point dogs, but still minus money. Like I just don't like it.
Yeah, I mean that vig is insane. But yeah, the Chargers didn't even hit the red zone last week against the Pats. Didn't even make it into the damn red zone.
They looked awful. They looked awful, Jay. They looked awful.
You should like the Broncos in this matchup.
We've got double Monday night games, which we shall talk about on the Monday Wake Up episode. We got Packers and Giants, and then Titans versus the Dolphins. So,
Dolphins favored by 13, Ray. 13.
The sad part about that is the game, they're going to pull all the starters about 5 minutes left in the third again. So you already know what's happening. Then they'll just give A-Chain 1 million carries after they pulled everybody. So there's that. We got a couple of super chats that we want to get to. Leo, shout out to our boy Leo Scott, man. Love Leo. Dynasty, 10 team, 2 tight end. PPR, Rashad White and Michael Wilson for Kelsey and a late second. Thoughts. Other running backs are Barkley, JT Pollard, and Spears. So he's sending away Rashad White and Michael Wilson for Travis Kelsey in a late second. Where are you at? Got to start 2 tight ends. Got to start 2 tight ends. I'm fine with that.
In a start 10, Rashad White's like a little bit easier to get rid of, but he's been very good.
And he's got JT. He's got Barkley. He's got JT who may or may not play. He's got Pollard. Got Spears, who Derrick Henry is the king.
You're starting Barkley and Pollard. So that's.
I don't know who his
tough.
other tight end is. I'd be curious to who he has as to why
Hopefully
he's making this move. If you could drop it in, Leo, who's your other tight end? But I'm fine with this move. And you getting Saquon Barkley back this week as well. Fresh and renewed to finish out the season. Got another one here from G. Full PPR Dynasty. Who do you think? Who do I start in my Superflex spot? Goff or Stafford? I'm in a must-win situation. I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you. Must win. All the marbles on the line, JRich. I know you are apprehensive about Jared Goff, but would you start Matthew Stafford versus Baltimore over Jared Goff in Chicago? No.
I would start Jared Goff.
So would I.
I'd start Jared Goff.
I'm starting Jared Goff as well. Start Jared Goff. His other tight ends, Leo's are McBride, Otten, and Waller.
Oh, you're all right then. Otten has a great matchup
I think he's okay.
Well, because he got no McBride this week, right? That's the problem. But after that, then he'll have Kelsey McBride, which is pretty damn good.
In a start too. That's really good. Really good.
And Otten this week is solid. He's got a great matchup.
And you might be getting Waller back. Make the deal, Leo. Good with the deal.
Yeah.
Good with the deal. What's up, Joe? Girl, Joe. What's up, Joe?
Joe.
I don't think I saw Joe on Monday. Hey, Joe, how you doing, my girl? Gavin, double Monday again. Stop it, NFL. Yeah, I know. Whoa, watch out. Panthers beat the Texans. Start Pacheco or Jacobs. We got Pacheco or Jacobs.
Probably Pacheco.
I like Jacobs' matchup, man. I like.
It's not bad, but if Minnesota's going to blitz all day long, he may not have much room to run.
They're going to give him the ball.
They will.
They're going to give him the ball.
They will.
Going to give him the ball. All right, that's the show. I am going to take some medicine, get well. We got a lot of good stuff dropping on the channel. I've got some new Trinity pieces that will be dropping on the channel. We're going to do some buy, sell, hold, really isolating 2 individual players, taking a look at them, seeing which ones we need to invest in now and for the future that will be dropping. And we've got podcasts, articles, websites, tools, all kinds of stuff at Destination Devy, man. Really, really appreciate everybody being in the building. I know it's a long season. You see the enthusiasm start to wane as people's fantasy rosters go up in flames, but stay tapped in. We got rookies, got awesome guest lineup. Thank you for Mitch coming on, JRich. Thank you for all the data that you've laid out. And most importantly, thank y'all, Gavin and Rico and Nissan and Leo and everybody that's been in the building, Garrison, everybody. Appreciate everybody's support. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out of the building. Like the content. Talk about DD. Spread the good DD word to everybody, and we will return the favor. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Jay, you got anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
No, man. Just have a good weekend. Enjoy some good football. Stars and scrubs, baby. But KC, Buffalo, Philly, Dallas. Going to be a good weekend. I'm excited for it. You see, the people got to see the thumbnail in the back, helmet? Man.
Should I bring it out?
Oh.
Should I bring it? I ain't doing it. I can't do it.
I can't. Save it for Monday.
I've already talked too much shit on Bleacher Report, so if Dallas loses, I may not show up. I'm not going to bring the helmet out. I'm not going to do it, Jay.
Call me in as a sub for Monday if Dallas
I want you to close it out, Jay. Close it out. Close the show out.
Everybody, thank you for tuning into the content. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Wake Up Feed, the podcast. Check out the DD website because there is tons of great content. And if you did not, check out the thumbnail in the background behind Ray. Oh, no.